Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age? Get down! Baltimore!
What are they giving?
Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that.
All right, welcome on back to another edition of the Baltimore Beatdown podcast. It is Wednesday night, my dudes. My name is Jake Luke. I'm joined on my screen by Spencer Nathaniel Schultz. Looks like he's in a little bit of a hostage situation potentially here with the background going on, some ISIL vibes maybe. I'm not really sure what the deal is here.
I am at my mom's house. Got a couple weddings to go to this weekend. I have a welcome party when I'm not in the wedding, so it's basically a double wedding, and I am not directly involved in this wedding, so I will be at the bar or watching the game on my phone. They'll be like, Sarah, it was so nice to, when I finally got to meet your brother, and you'll hear in the back, fuck, God. So that's what we're going to be dealing with.
Seeing you two together, I can just tell how happy you are. God,
throw the fucking ball, Lamar.
Yeah.
So we're in for a reckless shenanigan. It's a pretty rowdy group, so they know what the deal is and know that I'm full-blown psycho. I did make a promise to myself. No tweets during games.
You did. You said this. You said this on the timeline last week. I was a little curious about that. So maybe this is the right platform to expand upon that a little bit.
Yeah, it's just like every 60% of tweets during games are like, it's like the memes of like people. It's like a brain, and your brain is inside of a microwave that's melting, and your mouth is hanging open. It's just like most most grotesque, completely just slush-brained takes that go on like fucking God. It reminds me of like a Shane Gillis routine. It's like fucking, come on, dude, like fucking false starts. Like this shit's fucking insane. I can't take it anymore, dude.
It's just all reactionary. And I'm guilty of it too. I literally live tweet games, and I'll just like tweet things that literally make no sense in context to anything else. Like if you look at my timeline on a Sunday in the fall, I'll just like tweet some random thing, like just completely like either reactionary in anger or something, celebratory maybe, that just makes no sense. I'm just like, I'm offering up no real analysis on game days like 95% of the time. So I know what you mean.
100%. So I'm trying to really save my takes for Take Tuesdays. That's when I feel like I start to really, there's not an emotional part of it, and you can kind of go back, watch again. Especially if I go to a game, all the home games, I get some cool stuff. Like I can see like Isaiah Likely and Lamar Jackson before a play, like Lamar trying to sneaky talk to Isaiah Likely, or like weird little things that happen, or I can like see that, oh, hey, by the way, the Browns actually did flinch and jump on that false start, and I guess they didn't really do a good job showing that on the broadcast. Things like that. So I'm just trying to take it easy. It worked out well. I'm pretty stitious. I would say I'm very stitious, maybe even superstitious. So I stopped tweeting as the Ravens were having a weird time. They ended up winning, so I'll go through with that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm curious to see how long it lasts. You're talking about going through with it. We're going to see how long this lasts. Kind of my prediction is that I don't know if it's a long-term thing, but we'll see. It's I just think it's part of the experience of being a fan on Twitter, and it can be very insufferable, but you just gotta let it fly sometimes.
I'll tweet at halftime. How about that?
Okay, maybe you do a little halftime report.
That's what I'd love to do, and maybe away games we should start doing some Twitter spaces during halftimes. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it would. And yeah, it's also it's like the whole tweeting during like games thing is especially weird with home games, because like we're there most of the time, so kind of hard to like be tweeting a ton when you're in the stadium, especially like it rains at home games like literally every other week at this point. So just a very strange dynamic there.
It is 100%. So with that being said, super fired up. Primetime game, back-to-back primetime games for the Ravens. While it is back-to-back away primetime games, Thursday also and Sunday mornings kind of are prime time. I did a fun thing today. I went on with Sam Schwartzstein, who was I think he was the founder of the analytics department of the XFL and he was the director of the rules. They did some really cool things, like on the kickoff, for instance. They made all 20 players that weren't the kicker and the returner be within a 10-yard area and not able to move backwards at the snap. Like basically reduced high-speed collisions, and it led to some really exciting returns that were less likely to result in injuries, some cool stuff like that. So I had a really fun chat with him. He wanted to kind of talk about the Ravens analytics department and kind of my, I guess, opinions of some of those things. So it really got my brain cooking in some fun directions for this game and some different levels. So I'm super fired up about this one. The last time I would say that the Ravens play Tom Brady, and the last time that Lamar Demetrius Jackson Jr., and Thomas Patrick Brady Jr., two guys that are both juniors. Edward Brady Jr. So two guys that are low-key juniors that doesn't get brought up often. So
he's got two middle names, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr.
Exactly.
The third.
TEPBJ. OTPHJ.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting matchup here. You mentioned it's the last time. Hey, who knows, right? No, that's not going to happen. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We got to just survive this week here. Which, to your point about feeling excited about this one, I'm kind of feeling more a little in line with the players here. I'm feeling a little burnt out right now. It's frickin' Thursday. It's frickin' 4 days, man thing. That quote kind of hit me right in the soul. I'm like, oh, here we are again. I got to go through this thing again with, getting emotionally invested in this team, and we're going to see what happens, and it's going to be crazy. But man, it's two teams meeting in very interesting places. I think neither of them are in a particularly great place right now. But as much as people are kind of pointing that out, I think the Ravens are honestly in a little bit better of a place than the Bucs in that it feels like they haven't really put together their best football quite yet, and they're still sitting there at a winning record, whereas the Bucs, it's been a little bit more of a struggle recently. And then just we don't have to get into this in any serious manner, but all the bullshit that's been going on with Brady's personal life, it's just it's been a real slog for them and Todd Bowles the last couple of weeks.
It most certainly has. And the big things when you're just kind of watching this team, this Bucs team, is that, defense still in a good place. They don't have Antoine Winfield, who is, I would say, the heart and soul of their defense, very much so, along with Levante David, who still very much is probably the most underrated player in the NFL. I think the most underrated linebacker of his generation. They're going to be without Sean Murphy-Bunting, who has not really played a ton this year, I think, already. So they've already been dealing with that. Logan Ryan out for this one. Quite a few guys missing ultimately. Cameron Braid out. Carlton Davis out, who's a really good corner. Someone that got a lot of interest on the free agent market. They are now down. So from what the Bucs have had, they had Ryan Jensen, Ali Marpet, and Kappa. They now have none of those three. They did get Shaq Mason from the Pats, and it seems that he has played well. I only watched parts of 2 games, and he seems fine. I don't see anything dominant. But then they're even down again. Luke Goedke, who's a rookie who started to step up and play, and it seems like a lot of, when I was diving around some of the Bucs pundits and analysts and things like that, he's been starting to, like, quote unquote, turn it on, things like that. So their whole offensive line's a mess. They don't have Gronk, obviously. They don't even have Cameron Brate. They don't have, anything going in the run game at all. Leonard Fournette has been the least efficient runner in the NFL. I believe he's dead last in rushing yards over expectation, or I should say number 1 in rushing yards under expectation. Chris Godwin is coming off of an ACL, and Mike Evans is a Hall of Fame player still, outstanding, but it's just like Julio Jones probably isn't going to play. Russell Gage isn't there. They do have Scotty Miller, and who knows, they have Jalen Darden as well, who was a player I like coming out of, I believe, North Texas, if I'm recalling correctly. Super quick. He's a returner, shifty returner. But where's the juice? I mean, Godwin has been a great player, but he's not 100%. He's still getting into the swing of things, like so many Ravens are recovering from injury. So Brady doesn't have an interior line. He doesn't have an efficient run game at all. They don't have, Leonard Fournette's a big dude, but like the Ravens just played Nick Chubb and Saquon Barkley and relatively bottled those guys to a degree. Chubb went beast mode a couple times, but Leonard Fournette doesn't run like Nick Chubb does. Leonard Fournette's I like him a lot. Fantasy player, he's great, whatever. But this offense just lacks juice. And on top of, like you said, we don't need to talk about Tom Brady's personal life, but it's just a weird cloud of meatballs. It's cloudy with a chance of meatballs in this Bucs offense. They have Mike Evans drop a 45-yard pass that was a clear 70-yard touchdown, and then get pretty much blanked by the Carolina Panthers. And it's a weird team. Very weird offense right now in Tampa.
Yeah, it's very weird. They're I mean, looking at the DVOA, it's strange. They're 19th on offense, but they're completely just buoyed by their passing attack, which is 10th, and then they're 31st in rushing. It's just terrible. So they're kind of kept alive by that passing attack. You mentioned Godwin. Obviously, Evans is still a beast, but I don't even really know what they have going on at tight end. You mentioned Braid is going to be out. Kieft is a tight end who's listed on the injury report.
They have Rudolph, who's suffered some injuries. He's played 26 snaps. And then they have Cade Otton, who's a rookie.
Right. I liked him. I don't know.
You're a big Cade Otton guy.
Yeah, I don't know what he's done.
And he has played a lot. So you like Cade Otton, he's played 274 snaps with 160 of them coming in the pass game. So that's for rookie tight ends usually aren't big contributors. So that's playing a lot, especially with Tom Brady.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it feels like they kind of are scratching the bottom barrel. Braid's always been good, but it feels like he's been injury prone the last couple of years. And, they always were pretty deep there. They had OJ Howard for a while. They had Gronk for a while, obviously, but it kind of felt like they reached the end of the rope there. So a little bit thin there. Wide receiver still good. You mentioned the guys that they have, but the injury issues continue at that position as well. It's just it's weird, man. And then that offensive line is, if Ravens fans want to complain about the state of the offensive line right now, which I don't even really understand to begin with, this is a brutal scene, especially for a quarterback who Brady's pocket management is still to this day very good, but he is not what you would call a mobile guy. So
no, and he can still do his little slides through the pocket and get the ball out. And what makes Tom Brady special in my eyes, and what has allowed him to prolong his career on the field, you can get into the whole avocado ice cream, blah, 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 but the ability to throw the ball away over receivers' heads instead of taking hits, or just losing battles to win wars, or to hit checkdowns quickly and in rhythm and have high expectations and demand that his checkdowns be available and be ready and waiting for the ball. Those are the things that make him great. So play action down this year. I know that Bruce Arians really keyed in eventually on getting more play action to Brady. Now Bruce Arians is no longer there. It's Byron Leftwich. So Brady's attempted 246 passes. He's had 258 dropbacks. Only 16% of the dropbacks for the Bucs have been play action. With no play action, they average 6.4 yards per attempt. And with play action, they average 7.6 yards per attempt. So not a lot of play action. It's kind of, they're playing like Peyton Manning ball, kind of, without a good line and without a run game. Like, they line up, they don't using a ton of motion, things like that. And they're just trying to, throw it all over the yard a little bit. Brady on deep passes, it has completed 9 of, I think, 30 balls. So the deep game's not really cooking. Is 1 deep touchdown. The intermediate game has been fine. They really are just throwing underneath and throwing underneath and throwing underneath. And to be fair, I think Jacoby Brissett just did a really good job throwing underneath against the Ravens. But Ravens had a very different game plan, different threats on the Browns.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Leftwich went up in front of the media last week, and he faced some criticism, I think, directly from one reporter who asked him about certain stats or something like that. And he
running on first down, being very inefficient.
That's what it was, yeah. And he was
ranked dead last, and his reply was dead last in what? And the reporter said EPA, and then he just kind of scoffed, which was weird. It's weird down there right now.
He has never heard the term EPA before until then. But yeah, that was really interesting. And it reminds me a lot of the 2020 Ravens, kind of the whole running on first down thing, and just completely inefficient and just being kind of pot committed to something, and maybe sticking through it through a little bit of a faulty ideology. So I'll be interested to see what happens with that. Leftwich has been, he's gotten some head coaching buzz, I think deserved it sometimes, but they've really got to turn this thing around, because I don't know, Brady has said that retirement is not anywhere in his near future, and his plans might have changed at this point. Who knows? He's got the Fox thing in waiting, but I don't know if things are really going to turn around for them this year. I don't think that means that it's just going to be a cakewalk for the Ravens tomorrow night, but I just don't see a quick fix for this Bucs offense.
Definitely. In terms of DVOA, the Bucs are 10th at 18.1%, which is 5 spots below Baltimore. In terms of the run game, they are 31st, and Baltimore ranks 7th. And just it's Mike Evans, it's Chris Godwin. They use Brashad Perriman, they use Scotty Miller, and that's it, man. I mean, it's not pretty offensively. It's not pretty in terms of running the ball. It's a short week for a 45-year-old quarterback, or however the hell old he is now. I like the way this Ravens defense is playing. I think that John Harbaugh, among all coaches, has a scorned vendetta against anything New England and everything New England, and has for quite some time. Prides himself on beating those guys. They beat New England the last time they played New England and Tom Brady in emphatic fashion, using a lot of cover 3 and shutting down the run game. That was that, 8-0 Patriots team or whatever they were. And that was kind of one of the peaks of that 2019 season. Obviously, history prior to that playing against Brady so many times, the divisional round 2014, play AFC championship games back-to-back, so many of those things. So I think John Harbaugh really is dialed in on to Tom Brady, understands how to coach against him, and understands what his defenses have done successfully in the past, knows tendencies, knows that whole thing. So this stinks in the sense that I feel like if the Ravens had Marcus Williams, who has picked off Tom Brady twice in their last 3 games, I believe, and has been part of those Saints defenses that with Dennis Allen that have utterly shut down Brady and embarrassed Brady and embarrassed the Bucs, I think that would be a kill shot if they had Marcus Williams on the field. So I think, Geno Stone's played well. Kyle Hamilton stepping into a nice role. Chuck Clark's still back there. But I think this Ravens defense is in a good spot. They don't have Calais Campbell, who is out with an illness. And that could be a good thing. He's old and been playing so much. So I like that it's a hopeful non-injury. God knows, hopefully it's not some weird Troy Smith mono situation or whatever the hell. But I don't mind him being out as opposed to them being down several offensive players, and I think they're in a good spot to perform against the Bucs team. Short week, Thursday night road team, always tough, but
I don't mean to be like blasphemous here, and like this isn't intended as that at all, but it's kind of like, how much different right now are you talking about facing off against Jacoby Brissett versus Tom Brady? Like stylistically, at the very least, like a tall guy can move around a little bit, negotiate that pocket, and then Brissett was hitting and attempting.
Brissett holds the
shots.
ball though.
Yeah, for sure. So,
Brissett reminds me of Ben Roethlisberger a little more than Brady.
Yeah, but what I would say is like you're talking about the Brady that does the check down type deal, but he's also like when he got under Arians, he really started to like take these deep shots. Maybe that hasn't been how it has been this year, but it does feel like that has become a little bit more a part of his game, and we saw that a little bit last week from Brissett. He was not afraid to go deep to Cooper. He hits on one of them. The other one, he had the OPI. So it might be a little bit of a similar stylistic test. Is all I'm saying.
Could be. And like I said, Brissett, I think, did a nice job against some really soft shells that the Ravens played, getting the ball to Njoku, kind of, getting the ball quick. But whenever he held onto the ball, he got assaulted. The Browns similarly were missing Wyatt Teller, an all-pro right guard. And Tom Brady can't hold on. Like, he can't hold on to the ball because he can't get hit or he will die. Like, he can't hold on to the ball right now. It's not something in Tom Brady's interest. So again, play action, man. Why aren't the Bucs running play action? What the fuck is Byron Leftwich doing? Like, you're basically asking him to asking your offensive line to not have any threat of the run. Your run game stinks, which you can get into an argument of, does the run game being good impact play action? Yeah, sure, but play action's still efficient. And for them to run such a low level of it is very peculiar.
You're asking a guy that doesn't know what EPA is to run play action without establishing the run.
He fucking knows what EPA is. He knows. He fucking knows. He's just being a dick. Justin Houston played 15 snaps. He looks like, the new Karate Kid, Cobra Kai. He's older, but he's got that freaking head wrap on, that little bandana tied around the back, and he is freaking swipe ripping through really good tackles on the Browns, Jedrick Wills and Jack Conklin getting strip sacks. Justin Madubuike has been a force. Patrick Queen's been blitzing like a madman. Odafe always fast as heck and really is generating pressure. So can't hold the ball. And I don't know. I'm curious what Mike McDonald's plan is. Are you going to do? Is Harbaugh going to push you to doing? And it could not be Harbaugh. It could just be this is what they agree on. But are you going to push into let's play more middle of the field close. Let's crowd underneath and ask Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters to go play on that plane. Like Scotty Miller can run for sure, but he's not some dynamic, relative to the rest of the NFL receiver. Mike Evans is. Marlon Humphrey matches up well with big body big body wide receivers. So what's the threat on this offense to beat you deep like right now, other than Mike Evans? Chris Godwin's a middle of the field guy, a slot guy. Can he, do some things on some posts and whatever? Sure. But I just don't know. If you go line up in cover 3 looks and middle of the field close looks and you're moving, rotating and able to get some pressure, I just don't know how Tom Brady puts up, 24, 27, 30 points on a short week without most of his offensive players healthy.
Yeah, and is this a Kyle Hamilton game going up and rolling some coverages that way to help with some of those bigger guys? I'd be interested to see if he does get tasked with that a little bit. It really hasn't been his role much to this point throughout the season, but that could be an interesting test for a guy with his frame, I think.
For sure. And I mean, really just to put a cherry on top of how bad the Bucs rush game is, I'm looking at a tweet from Greg Allman. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson has more rushing yards, 510. And you want to exclude Niels from that, which I'm sure he didn't. # we need to exclude Niels. Then the Bucs have through 7 games at 451. So Lamar Jackson has 59 more yards on 82 less carries. The Ravens are averaging 5.4 yards per carry. The Bucs are averaging 3.05 yards per carry. And you're playing a team that just, like I said, bottled Saquon and bottled Nick Chubb to a degree. I don't know, man. I don't know how I'll be very impressed. Tom Brady's done many more impressive things in his career. Would it be a surprise to see Tom Brady, the lights at home Thursday night, playing an old foe, go put on a performance? I would be very impressed to see Brady pull it out. And he's been good this year. Like when you're watching him, he's still ripping balls up the seam. He's still able to move, slide, fire the ball. He's as smart as always. So it just feels like without a mobile quarterback, without a run game, without a good interior offensive line, they're just limited in how dangerous they are.
Yeah, for sure. Other side of the ball, you mentioned the Ravens offense a little bit there. Talking about DVOA, I mean, they're 5th in offensive DVOA, it looks like. And I mean, that's pretty balanced as well with 5th in passing and 7th in rushing. I know people are still super down on this offense, and the Greg Roman conversation, which I think is completely fucking jumped the shark once again at this point. I'm just kind of sick of hearing about it. And then, all the talk about the wide receivers are sitting there at pretty solid numbers. So interested to see what they can do against this Bucs defense, which you talk about their injury report. They are going to be thin in the secondary to the point where it sounds like Zion McCollum, who's another guy that we liked a little bit, is going to see some time.
Most certainly. So I believe Jamel Dean will be playing still, who is a good corner. I might have fudged that up. Pardon me if I did. But this defense, what do they do with Todd Bowles? They run a lot of that 4-2-5 stuff. They've got those 2 middle linebackers, Devin White, runs, hits, blitzes. Levante David is more of the air traffic controller, the consistent player. Logan Ryan, the Ravens fans should be very familiar with, very good run stuffing DB. And really when you're looking, and PFF grades, we talk about those ad nauseum, but when you're looking through, if you're perusing through PFF, Antoine Winfield, 90.1 run defense grade. Logan Ryan, 89.1. Jamel Dean, 82.4. Their 3 highest graded run defenders are their DBs, and 2 of them are out. Smells like trouble a little bit. Do they still have Shaq Barrett? Absolutely. Do they still have Joe Tryon, who's come on this year? I think has 15 pressures, 2 sacks. Someone that we really loved. He was our Beatdown podcast electee of our favorite player for the Ravens to draft in the 2021 draft. So, he can make some noise. Akeem Hicks out in this one. Vita Vea has 4 sacks. I don't know. PFF grades him very poorly. I didn't see anything really that dreadful. Then they have Mike Edwards, who plays a lot. I mean, they've got some guys, but again, it's like you just played Myles Garrett. You just played, you've played some dudes already this year. You played Von Miller and some serious dudes already. It just feels like this Bucs team, they're fine in DVOA, but their defense is very good in DVOA. But it's just not some scary monster, considering that they have Tom Brady, they have Mike Evans, they got a couple dudes. Like, where's the beast that you're so fearful of on this team?
Also, Vita Vea should be afraid because Tyler Linderbaum sitting in the locker room listening to country music, drinking Bud Light out of a Dunkin' Donuts styrofoam cup, overexpected, is just through the roof this week. So
it certainly is. The vibes are very high in Saloon, Iowa.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that matchup for sure. I mean, in all seriousness, Vay is obviously a beast, but T-Bomb looking pretty good as well.
Ben
It's not
Powers
like
has been outstanding. Kevin Zeitler's been outstanding. Ronnie
yeah,
Stanley's been good. Morgan Moses and whoever's at right tackle has been good enough to win. Then you've got Nick Boyle, you've got Pat Ricard, you've got all these dudes. Josh Oliver's been a good blocker. Josh Oliver officially became a pest, like a nuisance last week, to the point where Myles Garrett, when I was going back through tape, was like ripping him around after the whistle in frustration because he couldn't get Josh Oliver to get out of his face. Like he could win a rep and move him, but he couldn't get him off of him. And he was starting to get you could see how pissed he was getting, and his emotions were starting to flare up a little bit. So they've got guys that can go help out on
too
those
bad
guys.
he didn't catch that there.
What'd you say?
Sorry, you were a little shot. Sorry, you're chopping up a little bit, but yeah, it's too bad he didn't catch that touchdown because he could have really had the all around performance last week there.
Most definitely, and a couple bad reps, whatever. But Rashad Bateman in this one was a full participant on Wednesday today as we're recording, so I would expect him to play then. In that case, hopefully that foot is starting to be behind him a little bit. I was kind of the essence of, if that is still lingering, you cannot be without him the rest of the season. So if that has any risk, if that is a, 20% risk of increasing injury and missing time, missing 6 weeks, you cannot play him. So I would hope that he is at a much, much, much lower likelihood than that in the team's opinion. Mark Andrews has not practiced, so he is questionable at the same time, which leads me to believe that they're just like, this dude has been doing so much, we just truly need to put him on ice. We would be dead without him as well. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. If he sits out, the Bucs are missing more than Mark Andrews. So, an eye for an eye, kind of.
Yeah, I think they're probably planning on sitting him. I mean, he just didn't. I mean, it's not that he looked bad last week, but he just didn't do anything on the stat sheet receiving wise. And
he looked fine. He looked fine last week. He whooped the crap out of Grant Delpit on a go route, and Grant Delpit had to grab him and shove him and drew a DPI. He blocked well. He was moving. He was scooting. He was okay. He might be a little banged up. I don't think he's injured. I think he's just banged up. Probably has some swelling, and shit's a little sore. And
yeah, I think they're probably just going to kind of put him on the shelf this week, and then you got kind of a mini bye week coming up here. So give him that extra time. Then you got a bye week after that, and get him back to full strength for after that.
And Jamel Dean is active. Thank you, Luke Yates, for looking that up.
Logan Ryan inactive, he also says.
Yes, Logan Ryan out, Dean in. Dean is kind of the last remaining soldier. Him and Mike Edwards are the two DBs that play regularly that will be getting time. So getting into the game plan for the Ravens, and I saw a lot of jokes about, the DBs for the Bucs are all out. Greg Roman will probably run 50 times. But as I just said, their best run defenders, obviously Vita Vea, whatever his PFF grade, he's still a really good run defender. Their best run defenders are their DB. Like Antoine Winfield is like what Jamal Adams is supposed to be. He is an elite box plus safety that can go down and be dime back or play in the slot, blitz, do all of those kinds of things. He is a major loss for what they do schematically. It is insanely limiting to not have him and Logan Ryan. And then, of course, Carlton Davis on top of that. So tough situation for the Bucs.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll be interested to see if it can kind of get this passing game a little bit of a jump start with or without Andrews. If you're going to be going up against, what did Wink call them, the DoorDash type guys out there at cornerback, how about you take advantage? How about you go up and put up 300 yards passing? How about you go up and put 3 touchdowns on the board through the air? How about you have a little bit of a breakthrough performance here? I know it's a lot to ask on a short week, but you're probably not going to get much of a better opportunity than this over the next couple.
Sure, but it feels like Bateman, if you don't have Andrews like you think, and Bateman has had 1 full day of practice in 2 weeks, Deshaun Jackson, I would presume, is going to be active for this game. So maybe we see some fun stuff there. Devin Duvernay obviously can do some things, but I don't know. It's just like, of those guys, who's been practicing for like 3 weeks? Devin Duvernay is the only one. So things are still weird. It was fun to watch Wired and see the Ravens, Mark Andrews talking through routes, things like that. So I'd really love to have Mark Andrews in this one. But again, if there's any possible risk of injuring Mark Andrews and him missing time, you don't play him. So I would expect the Ravens to attack these DBs in the run game, screens, make them go tackle. They don't have their enforcing DBs. Go make these DBs tackle, throw screens, run to the perimeter, get them in conflict on the outside. That would be my game plan. if I know, and then you start pushing the ball on them, get the idea of the run in their mind, and then ask them to go cover a Deshaun Jackson, Rashad Bateman, a Devin Duvernay, some of those guys that can fly. So Levante David, one of the best coverage linebackers in the NFL. So it would be nice to have Mark Andrews. It feels like him and Devin White. Devin White is a bit of a jumpy kind of puppy, a la what people kind of think of Patrick Queen in some circles. And you can really use motion to make him chase things. He is a brick shithouse, but you can fool him. He's like a dumb Rottweiler that, you fake throw a ball or, have someone run across the yard one way so someone can run across the other side of the yard, things like that. So I don't know. Again, just not a super scary matchup. This team runs a pretty, classic Todd Bowles defense. Like they like to play a lot of zone. They like to play a lot of match. They, play a lot of middle of the field close stuff still. And it just feels like they're lacking juice. They're asking guys who haven't had a lot of reps to go play. So the Ravens have been close to exploding so many times. Like going back through the tape of that Browns game, Lamar Jackson, Patrick McCary trips on, I don't know, the guard Powers or whoever it was. And as he's pulling, maybe it was Stanley as he's pulling, and that prevents him from going and reaching a defender that Lamar Jackson didn't end up beating one-on-one for one of the few times in that game. Otherwise he walks into the end zone. They're just slightly off the screen. The slip screen, you go double screen, throw it to Kenyon Drake. They have Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah able to get a hand on it, barely. Otherwise, it's a walk-in touchdown. They've just been so close to breaking the lid, to blowing the glass ceiling. Not to quote a Hillary Clinton stupid thing that I've always had, the glass ceiling. But anyway, they've just been so close.
Okay, so are they going to break through the glass ceiling this week? What's your prediction for this one?
My prediction is that Thursday night football we should abolish it. It should be at least Friday night football. There's too many guys missing.
Didn't they write a book about that and make a TV show and a movie?
Yes. So I don't know, man. It should be Friday night football. Give these guys an extra day. It's that last year they go to Miami. I would hope that in the fan perspective, last year they go to Miami on a short week against a team that's were they 2-6 at the time, 1-7, something like that, 1-6, and get their shit pushed in for 4 quarters and lose that game. That's embarrassing. Ravens are supposed to dominate in Florida. That was their MO for years and years and years. The Flacco 5 happened in this stadium. They've had success in Florida. So take Thursday night football seriously, knowing that you do have rest coming up. And it's like, of these next 2 games, you're not looking ahead to the Saints. You're looking at Tom Brady and saying, this is a game that if we go 5-3 here, if we're able to take care of business on a short week against a very injured Bucs team, then we're in a great spot. You're in first in your division. Trade deadline coming up. If you're 5-3 as opposed to 4-4, I don't know if I'm Eric DeCosta. If I'm 5-3 going into the trade deadline, I've got some time on my hands. Buy after the Saints. That's a great time to acquire a player. That is like last year they were quote unquote inquiring about Xavier Howard. That was a team that was like, well, we're missing 15 guys. So should we make a move that is going to cost us draft capital? Now, if they beat the Bucs, there has not been a better time to make a move in, I don't know, years. At this point, with all the uncertainty of Lamar Jackson and whatever's going on, and hey, maybe that's just uncertainty to us on the outside, but go do it, man. Go make a move if you can win this game. And this is a game that, again, I didn't want to call the Browns game a must win. I called it a gotta have it.
It was a can't lose.
It's a can't lose. This one is like, I don't even know a phrase. Like, wouldn't it be nice? It's a wouldn't it be nice game. Wouldn't it be nice to be 5-3? Wouldn't it be nice to beat Tom Brady? Wouldn't it be nice to win and then have a long period off and then a game against another struggling team and then a bye? Wouldn't that be nice to be 6-3? You don't need to look ahead to the Saints because you got Tom Brady right in front of you, but wouldn't it be nice?
Shout out to the Beach Boys. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, parlaying right into that. I will go ahead and say that it will be nice when the Ravens win this game 17-16.
I don't know, man. This team doesn't play Lamar Jackson often. What's the closest they play? Taysom Hill, who's in the NFC.
Yeah,
they played Hurts. I think they played what in the playoffs last year.
They played Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Took care of him.
That's different. Mahomes isn't rushing for 1,200 yards.
Well, if that's
That's
the
a different team, man.
comparison,
They had
then-
all their DBs healthy. They had all these guys. They had Ndamukong Suh. They had Gronk. They got, the Maulers and their interior offensive line. The two guys I guess we didn't mention on the Bucs offense are their very good tackles. So Tristan Wirfs is probably the best right tackle in football, no worse than top 2. And Donovan Smith is like a top 10 left tackle. So they've got those guys. If the Ravens lose this game, it's because I'll say they turn the football over on offense. Twice, 2+ times. That's why they lose. If the Ravens win this game, it's because Mike Evans and Chris Godwin aren't enough to beat a team that has, good DBs, good defense right now, and is reeling due to injury.
So what's going to happen?
I'm going to say the Ravens put up a cool 30. I'm going to say this one goes 30. And I think that this, what happens? So we're talking about the Bucs are missing this player, and this player. So what does that mean? That the next wave of guys is stepping in. You've got the 5th guys, the 6th guys, the 7th, 8th guys on the offensive line, the 6th, 7th, 8th DBs. What happens when those guys go down? Every game, usually, you have a player that can't finish for the most part. More often than not, those guys are going to need subs. Are you going to go ask on a short week? Is Chris Godwin coming off of an ACL on a short week without other receivers? Do you want him playing 100% of snaps? 90% of snaps? Whew. Turner W with a great comment. People forget the Ravens almost killed Chris Sims in Tampa.
I thought that was the R words.
I feel like it was Tampa.
No, I think it was. I'm saying Sims was on the Bucs, but it was a playoff game against the R words. When he busted his spleen, which is what I think he's alluding to.
No, he's saying the Ravens beat the snot out of the Bucs when Chris Sims was quarterback.
Oh, okay. Well, Chris Sims also almost died on the field, so forgive me for excusing or for not realizing what he was talking about.
Yes, it was. I believe it was 2006 or 7. They play. I think they. That's
when
they
was 06. Yeah, that
was
week 1 of the 06 season. I think Dan Wilcox.
They shut them out.
Yeah, it was
Chris Sims had 3 completions or something.
Yeah, Aaron McNair and the boys going into Tampa week 1.
14-2.
Yeah.
That season was sick.
So Ravens.
I'm gonna go Ravens 30, Bucs 21.
So you're betting on the Ravens scoring 30 and a relatively competitive primetime game on Thursday night.
Yeah.
You're just bucking all the trends here, aren't you?
I mean, what are the trends? There's so much hyperbole. They've played all winning teams so far this year, other than the Browns. The Browns, are a divisional opponent. It's just again, I'll just go back. What has John Harbaugh didn't tell a lie when he said there's so much good on tape. They're so close. They're so close.
Which
and
fans
the Bucs
love to hear that.
The Bucs are missing their entire secondary, man. They have Jamel Dean and nothing, man. Mike Edwards is fine. I don't know. I just don't know where the oomph is for this Bucs team. If you can keep Myles Garrett from wrecking a game, Shaq Barrett's not terrifying, do you? Vita Vea is really good, but your interior offensive line is really good. Vita Vea could have 2 sacks, sure. That doesn't mean the world's ending. I don't know. I just don't know where the pizzazz and the flash and the pitter patter are gonna buck their heads. I don't. The Bucs are reeling. They're coming off getting pushed in by the Panthers, so maybe that is the opposite effect, and they're ready and they're riled up. But it's your guys are out. I don't know. It'll be if the Bucs win, I think it'll be a very, very impressive win.
Okay. Well, we are both on record. Ravens winning. You got them getting off a schneid a little bit, breaking the duck there. I've just got another kind of survive in advance situation, but I think after some of what we've seen throughout the early part of this year, I think you would take 5-3 and you would fucking run with it. So hopefully that's what happens. We will certainly see. Thank you for joining me here, bud, on this fine Wednesday night. Quick turnaround, but we'll get a nice little layoff after this, get back after it, like I said, hopefully a win. But in the meantime, go ahead and follow us on social media. You can follow the show on Twitter at Podcast Beatdown. You can find me at Jake Luke. That's LOUQUE. You can find Spencer at Ravens 4 Dummies. That's the number 4. Before we get going, how about you plug your new little video situation you got going on?
Yes, I'm going to be breaking down the Ravens' 3rd down offense and defense 4th down as well. A series I'm calling Show Me the Money Downs. You can find it on BaltimoreBeatdown.com. You can find it on YouTube. So I'm doing a film breakdown for every single 3rd and 4th down play, somewhere between 90 seconds and 2 minutes. for every single play. I'm really proud of it. I'm really excited to do it the rest of the season. This week I did the offense. It came out today. You know, the Thursday puts a monkey wrench in it, but really pumped up to do it. I'm gonna have plenty of time to work on this one. I do have those weddings, so that'll prevent me, but the film probably won't be out till like Saturday anyway. So hopefully maybe I'll try to have that one out Monday for both of them. And you can find that on BaltimoreBeatdown.com. Fired up. So excited, man. I'm having a fun time this year going into the film. I'm having a fun time overall. I like this Ravens team. I like where they're at. I like the possibilities and the prospects for the rest of the season. And I think this is going to be a fun game.
Hey, it's still competitive. It's still they're still right in the thick of this thing. So people, want to talk about, the next head coach and the next whatever. It's like this is still very much a competitive team, and they are going into a game that I assume is going to be competitive. So let's just try and enjoy it. Thank you guys for listening.
Man, I love it.
It's football, baby. We're just a couple football guys. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll talk to you again tomorrow night.
See ya.
Arrivederci.
Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age?
Get down!
Baltimore!
What are they getting? Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Need that.